Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are doing something a little different.
Yeah, a bit of a left turn for us today.
Exactly. Usually, we take a stack of articles about tech trends or maybe history or, productivity hacks, and we try to find the new thing. We look for the edge.
Right.
But the material we have today, it is not looking outward. It's looking inward. And I have to be honest, when I first read the opening line of this research packet, I actually almost rolled my eyes.
You rolled your eyes. That is a pretty strong start.
I did, because it starts with this question. It asks, have you ever really felt it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it immediately starts talking about breathing. And I just thought, okay, here we go. Another mindfulness lecture. Breathe in, breathe out. I know this. Honestly, it felt cliche.
That is a completely fair reaction, I think. We hear about the breath so much in wellness culture that it has just become background noise.
Right.
It is like hearing a safety announcement on an airplane. You know it is important, but you tune it out because you have heard it 1,000 times before.
It is the flight attendant voice of the wellness world. But, and this is why we're doing this deep dive today, I kept reading, and about 3 pages into the text, something just clicked.
It shifts the gears.
It really does. Because the text wasn't talking about breathing as a relaxation technique. It was talking about it as a biological deadline. And that actually scared me a little bit.
That is the big shift. The provided text isn't asking you to relax. It is asking you to wake up to a very specific, very physical reality. It uses this phrase, the hidden miracle.
A hidden miracle, right?
And it asks a really provocative question for you, the listener. It asks, if this breath you are taking right now is the single most valuable asset you own more than your house, your stock portfolio, your status, why do you pay zero attention to it until it is threatened?
That is the hook right there.
Right.
We totally ignore the asset until the asset is in trouble.
Exactly.
And the text frames this problem, this blindness that we all have, around 2 concepts that happen to rhyme, Jano and Mono.
Jano and Mono. These are basically the 2 pillars of our conversation today. And I want to be really clear right off the bat, these aren't just cute rhyming words. They represent 2 completely different ways of operating your brain and your life.
So let us set the stage here. I am definitely a Jano guy. I love data. I love reading the manual. I love knowing how things work.
You like to understand the mechanics?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
If my car breaks down, I want to know exactly which part failed. I want the diagnostic report.
That is Jano, right?
That is Jano perfectly described. Jano translates simply to know. It is the domain of the intellect.
Okay.
It is analysis. It is logic, gathering proof, understanding concepts. It is essentially having the map.
And Mono.
Mono translates to accept or to admit. But in this specific context, it means something a lot deeper. It means to embody.
To embody.
Right. If Jano is having the map, Mono is actually walking the trail. It is the shift from having information in your head to letting that information transform your behavior. Information versus transformation. I really like that distinction.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you and I and everyone listening, we are living in the golden age of information.
Oh, absolutely.
I have access to more Jano on my phone than an emperor had 1,000 years ago. I can look up the biochemistry of serotonin. I can read about stoicism. I can study the daily habits of billionaires. I know so much.
And yet, look at the anxiety levels around us. Look at the burnout.
Yeah, it is everywhere.
If Jano is the solution to human happiness, we would be the happiest generation in human history.
Which we definitely are not.
Exactly. We have all the facts. We know smoking is bad. We know sleep is good. We know getting incredibly angry is destructive. We have the Jano. But do we actually live it?
We absolutely do not live it. I stay up late scrolling on my phone despite knowing the exact science of sleep hygiene. I get mad in traffic despite knowing logically that it solves nothing.
And that right there is the gap. And that is exactly what this deep dive is about today. We are going to explore why we get stuck in Jano.
Why we get stuck in our heads.
Right, and how to bridge that gap to Mono, how to move from the head to the heart. And we aren't going to do it with abstract poetry or heavy spiritual vocabulary.
Thank goodness.
We're going to look at the biology, the psychology, and some very practical habits.
Let us start with the biology then, the physiology of the gift. Because the text makes a really big deal out of the biology of now.
It does, and I think we need to zoom in here for a second. When the text asks, have you felt it? It is referring to the autonomic functions keeping you alive this exact second. Let us look at the heart, for example.
Okay, let us look at the heart. I know it pumps blood. Jano says heart pumps blood.
That is the headline. But let us look at the actual data. Your heart beats roughly 100,000 times a day.
Wow.
It pumps about 2,000 gallons of blood every single day. That blood travels through a network of vessels that, if you laid them out end to end, would stretch for 60,000 miles.
60,000 miles. Wait, pause. Inside my body, right now, there is enough piping to go 60,000 miles.
That is enough to wrap around the Earth twice.
That is staggering.
And your heart is pushing fluid through that entire system against gravity with perfect rhythm, without a battery change, without a software update, and most importantly, without you ever asking it to.
That is the part that really gets me. I didn't wake up this morning and put beat hard on my to-do list.
No, you didn't.
If I had to consciously manage my heartbeat, I would be dead in 10 seconds. I would get distracted by a notification and just forget to pump the left ventricle.
And that right there is the definition of the term NEMAT, which is used in the text.
EMAT.
Yes. It translates to blessing or gift, but it heavily implies an unearned favor. It is a service being provided to you. You are the recipient of a massive amount of biological labor.
It is incredibly humbling when you put it that way.
Mhm.
I am not the CEO of my body. I am more like the passenger in a really expensive car that is driving itself.
You are the beneficiary.
Yeah.
And the text argues that the first step to mono, to this actual transformation, is simply acknowledging that reality. But we don't do that.
No, we don't.
We have what psychologists call hedonic adaptation. We just get used to the miracle. We assume perfect health is the baseline default.
We assume the baseline is just, I feel good, and if I get a headache, I am immediately offended. I'm like, excuse me, why is there a flaw in the service?
Right. We only notice the heart when it skips a beat. We only notice the breath when we have a bad cold. That is what the text calls a hard heart.
A hard heart takes the service for granted.
Exactly. A soft heart, on the other hand, is one that is porous. It lets the reality of this gift actually sink in. It realizes, wow, I am being actively sustained right now.
There's a phrase in the notes that really stopped me in my tracks. It is originally in Hindi or Urdu Ruki Sans, Mauka Patam.
Ricky Sans Mauka Katam, stop breath, opportunity over.
It sounds like a threat.
It is not a threat. It is a deadline.
A deadline.
Think about it like a contract. Every time you inhale, your contract with life is renewed for another few seconds. You exhale, will it renew? Yes. Inhale, contract sign. But the biology dictates that eventually there will be an exhale that simply isn't followed by an inhale. That is the Ruki-sans, the stopped breath.
I mean, that happened.
Opportunity over. The opportunity to apologize to your brother. Gone. The opportunity to start that big project. Gone.
Even just the opportunity to taste your morning coffee.
Gone. The text is trying to create a sense of urgency. Not panic, but urgency. It is saying, you are live on air right now. This is the show. Why are you acting like this is just a rehearsal?
I think that is exactly why we run to Jono. The reality of the stopped breath is terrifying. It makes me feel incredibly small, makes me feel completely out of control. So I retreat into my head. I retreat to Jono, because in Jono I feel safe.
You have hit the nail completely on the head. This is the core psychological function of Jono. The text explicitly points this out. It says, in Jono, control tumher pashas, meaning control is with you.
Control is with you. And man, we love control. I want to control my career. I want to control my health. I want to control what other people think of me.
We are absolutely addicted to control, and Jono is our primary tool for that. We think, if I just understand everything, I can control everything.
Yeah.
Let us look at health anxiety, which is very common. You feel a weird pain in your side. What is the very first thing you do?
I go straight to Google immediately.
Yeah.
And I read 10 different articles. I look at medical diagrams. I learn about the spleen. I don't even really know what a spleen does.
Yeah.
But suddenly I'm an absolute expert on spleen rupture.
And why do you do that? Does reading the article cure the pain in your side?
No, not at all. But it makes me feel, I don't know, prepared. It makes me feel like I am actively doing something about it.
It gives you the illusion of control, and that is the trap of Jono. We mistake understanding the map for navigating the terrain. You can know everything there is to know about the spleen, but you cannot command your cells to heal. You are still just a passenger.
But Jono feels good because it feeds the ego.
Exactly. The ego says, I am the smart one. I have the data. I can figure this out.
So Jono creates a sense of certainty.
It creates intellectual certainty. I am certain that X, Y, and Z are the facts. But here is the kicker. Does it create peace?
No. Honestly, usually the more I read, the more anxious I get. If I read about the economy, I am not peaceful. I am terrified. If I read about politics, I am just angry.
Precisely. Jano gives certainty, but it does not give peace. In fact, high Jano often correlates directly with high anxiety.
That makes so much sense.
The brain is constantly running simulations, trying to predict every possible future threat so it can control it. It is exhausting.
It is exhausting. I feel like my brain is a web browser with 400 tabs open, and I can't close a single one of them because what if I need that information later?
That is the state of modern life. We are drowning in Jano, we have an absolute overdose of information, but we are starving for sukoon.
Sukoon, that is the word the text uses for peace, right? Tranquility.
Yes. And the text makes a strong argument that sukoon does not come from Jano. It comes from Mano.
So let's pivot to mono then. If Jano is, I know, mono is, yeah, I accept. But I have to push back here a little bit.
Go for it.
Acceptance sounds a lot like giving up. It sounds incredibly passive. Like, oh, well, the house is burning down, I accept it. Is that really what we're talking about here?
No, not at all. And I'm really glad you brought that up because that is the single biggest misconception about mono. Mono is not passivity. It is not becoming a doormat for life to walk all over.
Okay, so what is it?
Think of it like swimming in a fast-moving river. Jano is standing on the riverbank, calculating the flow rate, measuring the water temperature, and debating the ethics of water currents.
Right.
Passive surrender is jumping in and just floating like a dead log, letting the river smash you into the rocks.
Ouch.
But mono is swimming with the current. You are active. You are moving. You are actively steering, but you are not trying to make the river flow backwards.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You aren't fighting the basic reality of the river.
You are aligning with it. The text says, in mono, control is with the giver, or the flow. You admit that you did not create the river. You admit you cannot stop the river. So you drop the resistance.
You drop the ego.
You drop the ego that says, I should be able to control this water. And when you drop that resistance, what happens?
You stop drowning. You conserve your energy.
You find sukoon. You find peace. Because you are no longer fighting a war against reality that you simply cannot win.
So mono is active alignment. It is looking at reality, whether that is a difficult health diagnosis, a massive traffic jam, or a really difficult boss, and saying, this is happening, I accept it as happening, now how do I move with it?
Exactly. It moves you from asking, why is this happening to me, which is Jano, analysis, to asking, how do I serve this moment, which is Mono, action.
I want to get really practical with this because the text gives us 3 very specific steps to build this mono muscle.
And it is a muscle.
Right. You don't just wake up, decide to be peaceful, and then be your Gandhi. You have to put in the reps.
It is absolutely a daily practice. The 3 steps outlined in the text are 1, recognize the gift, 2, use it correctly, and 3, remember the giver.
Let us break these down for the listener. Step 1, recognize the gift. We already talked a bit about seeing the biology, the hidden miracle.
This is basically Mindfulness 101, but with a very specific gratitude twist. You have to physically stop. Look at your hand, open and close it. Realize that there are tendons and nerves firing that you did not design.
Yeah.
If you are drinking a glass of water, don't just gulp it down while checking your email. Stop. Feel the coldness of the water. Realize that clean drinking water is a massive luxury for much of human history. Recognize it as a nimat, a favor.
It is about dragging these invisible things out of the background and putting them front and center in the foreground.
Yes, de-automating your life.
Step 2, use it correctly.
Okay.
Busca sahi stem caro. This one is actually my favorite because it sounds so incredibly practical. Use the gift correctly.
This completely changes gratitude from a fuzzy feeling into a hard behavior.
How so?
Let us go back to the breath. If you truly accept that your breath is a limited resource, a gift that will eventually run out, how do you use it correctly? Is screaming at a total stranger on the internet a correct use of this life force?
Definitely not. It feels like a massive waste.
Is holding a bitter grudge against someone for 10 years a correct use of your memory and your energy?
No. It is a clear misuse.
Think of the Stradivarius analogy. If I gave you a violin worth $5 million, an absolute masterpiece, and you took it outside and used it as a cricket bat, what is that?
It is pure insanity. It is totally disrespectful to the instrument.
The text argues that your body, your mind, and your time are the Stradivarius. If you use them for pettiness, for hate, for constant anxiety, you are using a masterpiece to hit a ball in the mud. You are misusing the nimat.
Wow.
Living Manono means constantly asking, is this action worthy of the gift I have been given?
That is a really high standard. It forces you to clean up your act immediately. You can't just walk around saying, I am grateful, and then continue to act like a jerk.
Exactly. Real gratitude is shown entirely in how you treat the gift.
And then we get to step 3, remember the giver. Denawale ko yad rako. Now, the text gives a warning here. It says, don't just analyze the giver. Don't just jhano. You have to mano. Accept and connect with the giver. What does this connection actually look like in practice?
It looks like a relationship. Mano treats the universe like a complex math problem to be solved. If I do X, I get Y. It is highly transactional.
Right.
Mano treats the universe or the life force or the giver as a relationship to be deeply honored. It is the difference between knowing a person's resume, which is jhano, and trusting them enough to fall asleep in the passenger seat while they're driving. That is mano.
This is a great analogy.
You don't need to understand the complex physics of how gravity works to trust that the ground will hold you up when you walk. You just trust the ground. That implicit trust is mano.
I really like that. Trusting the ground. It is primal. Okay, I want to run through some of the practical scenarios from our notes.
Yeah.
Because this is where the rubber really meets the road for you and me.
Let us do it.
We are all living in a jhano world. We are paid to analyze things. We are rewarded for having high jhano. How do we practically switch to mono in the middle of a stressful Tuesday afternoon? Let us look at scenario health and habits.
A classic struggle.
I know I should eat broccoli. I know I should go to the gym. I have all the jhano, but I'm sitting on the couch eating potato chips anyway.
This is the classic knowledge-action gap. Jhano is the raw information chips are bad, gym is good. But that information lives in the prefrontal cortex. It is purely logical.
And the urge to eat the chips.
That lives in the dopamine centers. It is visceral. It is immediate. Jhano tries to fight that visceral urge with dry logic. It says, if I eat this, my caloric intake will exceed my daily limit. That is a very weak argument when you are tired and hungry.
It never wins.
Rarely. Mono operates completely differently. Mono does not start with a rule. It starts with respect.
Respect for what?
For the gift. You look at your body, you remember the heart beating 100,000 times today, you remember the hidden miracle, and you say to yourself, I respect this machine too much to put garbage fuel into it.
Ah, I see.
You drop the mental resistance to the discomfort of the gym. You accept it. You say, yes, the gym is hard. I accept the hardness. I am going anyway because I am a steward of this gift.
So it completely shifts the framing from an external rule, I have to do this, to an internal alignment. I want to honor this.
Yes. Jhano relies on sheer willpower. Mono relies on devotion. And devotion is always, always stronger than willpower in the long run.
Okay, let us move to scenario B, emotional regulation. Specifically, anger. This is definitely my Achilles heel.
It is a common one.
Someone cuts me off in traffic, or a coworker drops the ball on a big project. I feel the heat rise in my chest, and my jhano immediately starts building a court case in my head. He is wrong because of Section 4, Paragraph B.
Yeah.
I am right. I need to prove to everyone that I am right.
Oh, the Jhano lawyer. We all have a Jhano lawyer living in our heads. The Jhano lawyer loved anger because anger feels like power. It feels like, I am right and you are wrong.
It is very intoxicating.
But remember, the rule Jhano gives certainty, it does not give peace. You can be 100% logically right and be 100% miserable at the same time.
So true.
Mono, in this moment, requires a massive dropping of the ego. The ego wants to punish the other person. Mono says, recognize the reality. The reality is simply this. The mistake happened. The traffic is bad.
Just observing the facts without the story.
Exactly. Then, Mono says, drop the resistance, stop wishing the moment was different. It isn't different, it is this.
And then use the gift correctly.
Right. Is spending your next hour stewing in rage and spiking your cortisol a good use of your limited heartbeats?
No, it just burns me out completely.
So you actively choose peace. You say, I choose not to set myself on fire just to prove that someone else is smoky. You let it pass, not because you are a weak person, but because you are fiercely protecting your peace, your sukoon.
I choose not to set myself on fire. I need to get that tattooed on my forehead. That is powerful.
It is a game changer.
Let us hit scenario C, anxiety and trust. We worry constantly. We worry about money, our kids, the state of the world. Jhano tries to predict every single future outcome to make us feel safe.
Jhano is essentially a prediction engine. What if the market crashes? What if I lose my job? It runs millions of simulations in the background. It falsely thinks that if it can find the bad outcome, it can somehow prevent it.
But you obviously can't predict the future. The variables are infinite.
Exactly. Mono solves anxiety not by predicting the future better, but by trusting the flow.
Trusting the flow.
Mono says, I do not know what will happen tomorrow. I admit my ignorance. which, by the way, is very hard for Jano to do.
Jano hates admitting ignorance.
It hates it. But then Mano takes it a step further. It says, I don't know tomorrow, but I know that the same life force that woke me up today will be there tomorrow. I trust my ability to handle it when it comes. I trust the giver of the breath.
It is leaning back into the uncertainty instead of constantly leaning forward and trying to aggressively squint through the fog.
Leaning back, that is exactly the physical feeling of Mano.
So I have to ask the skeptic's question here. Are we basically saying that Jano is bad? Should I just stop reading books? Should I fire my accountant? Should we all just vibe our way through life and ignore the facts?
Absolutely not. Please keep your account.
Good to know.
The text uses the framing Jano versus Mano to show the clear contrast between the two states. But the ideal state of living is sequential.
Sequential, meaning one follows the other.
Yes. You need Jano first. You need to know the truth before you can accept it. You need to logically know that the stove is hot, that is Jano, before you can make the wise decision to not touch it, that is Mano.
Right.
You need to know your cholesterol numbers, Jano, before you can accept reality and change your diet. Mano. Jano is the map. And you absolutely need the map.
The problem is when you mistake the map for the destination itself.
Precisely. The problem is when you get stuck in endless analysis paralysis.
So Jano is reading the menu, and Mano is actually eating the food.
That is a perfect analogy. You cannot nourish your body by just reading the word lasagna on a piece of paper. You have to eat the food.
Yeah.
We have an entire generation of people who are absolute experts at reading the menu of life. They know everything there is to know about happiness, about fitness, about building relationships, but they aren't eating. They aren't actually living it.
Our goal is to put down the menu and pick up the fork.
Pick up the fork. Move from information to transformation.
I absolutely love that. Pick up the fork.
Yeah.
This has been a really, really grounding conversation for me. It has taken these seemingly abstract ideas and made them feel incredibly necessary for daily life.
It brings it all down to earth.
It really does.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let us bring it back to the very beginning, to the breath,
The contract.
the ticking clock.
Mhm.
We have given you, the listener, a lot of words today. And all of that, the definitions, the analogies, the biology, that was all Jano. That was information.
But this deep dive is about to end. The audio will stop playing.
And you will be left in silence. And the real question is what happens next?
Do not just file this away in your brain as another interesting topic. Take 5 minutes right now. Just 5 minutes.
Look at your hand. Feel your pulse. Recognize the git that is keeping you alive.
Drop the mental resistance to whatever is stressing you out today. Put the ego aside, just for 5 minutes.
And see if you can truly feel that shift. The shift from the head down to the heart.
From information to transformation.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. What will you do with your next breath?